How's it going, folks? It's Lobo, and welcome back to the channel. And to those of you who are new around here, you can find the link to my other reactions in the playlist, such as WandaVision, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and Loki, to get up on all my reactions to Marvel content, because right now, we're going to be starting Hawkeye. And I'm aware I am 2 episodes behind on this because I'm uploading late. So those who are aware of my channel and are accustomed to how I upload and just my videos in general, you'll know that my Shang-Chi reaction took a long time because it would not upload. It took multiple uploads, 17 in total, so that put me behind 2 weeks. So right now I'm playing Hiccup and I'm getting caught up on Hawkeye, and I know I have not finished What If, but I feel like this takes priority because it does have ramifications for the MCU's still sacred timeline, if you want to call it that. So what I'm just doing here is starting with Hawkeye, and then I'll do Hawkeye, an episode of What If, then another episode of Hawkeye, because eventually I'll get caught up with Hawkeye, but right now I'm just going to focus on that just so I can get caught up on it. But What If will still come along the way, as well as my reactions to the other X-Men movies. I have not forgot about those. I'm very excited for them. But there's just like so much that I kind of have to condense in the time that I can work with. So here we are, starting with Hawkeye. And before we begin, I want to say that I just was never the biggest fan of Clint Barton. I'm pretty sure no one is. I've always said this. If you're a Hawkeye fan, I am so sorry that I did this to you. It's the same thing with Arrow. I watched Arrow back in its like sort of prime, its first few seasons where it was good. I'm like, yeah, this is cool. But I'm like, still an Archer. I don't know. If you like archery, that's cool. It's a fun sport or activity, but I just can't get behind the idea of it being like this sort of superhero. Well, not power, just ability. But within his confines, it works because, again, he's a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent, special assassin. He became Ronin for a time, which was very cool to see. But even still, it's not like something I would personally want. Like, of all the things you can do, archery. I don't know. But, well, he's getting his time to shine because pretty much every Avenger has had their moments. Hulk technically had a solo movie, even though that was not him. I think it was like Edward Norton instead of Mark Ruffalo, but Mark Ruffalo has appeared in a number of movies, and he's also appeared in others like Thor Ragnarok, so he's had other instances where he's appeared. Black Widow, of course, finally got her own solo movie back in the summertime, even though it was supposed to come out a long time before that because of delays, but pretty much Hawkeye was the only one who had no sort of outgoing movie or sort of special appearances. You could say technically Avengers doesn't count because everyone was there. Same with Captain America Civil War, minus Thor and Hulk, because they were in their own thing, which had more focus on them rather than just like the blunt of heroes all in Civil War. So looks like he's finally getting his time to shine. This kind of just makes me think of the time where Anthony Mackie and Tom Holland were on stage and they were like talking and stuff, and he said something about Tom Holland's Spider-Man, and then he goes, talking to him, he's like, oh, what about the Captain Falcon movie? And he's like, oh wait, you don't have one. And it was like a sick burn at the time, but he got his own series, and now he's Captain America and has his own movie coming out eventually. So it's just funny. So everybody gets their due eventually, and it's Hawkeye's time. So with that being said, there are more things I know than just like the simple Clint Barton and stuff. Like, obviously I know his family. I'm unsure about the names. I think it's either Laura or Lila is his wife or daughter. I hope that, well, I'm mixing that up, so that's bad. But it's one of the two. And I know there's going to be a side character played by, what's her name? Haley Steinfeld? Something along the lines. I'm terrible with pronunciations. You've probably noticed that in all my videos if you've watched me before. So with her, her character is, I think, called Kate Bishop, and I've seen that character before, like in comic panels or just like things on, because I just sort of know random comic facts and such, and I always see sort of things like on Instagram, Twitter, Reddit, all over the place when I obviously plays ads and posts and stuff that are within your parameters of your interest. So obviously I've seen sort of snippets of her character for like years. And Kate Bishop is like wearing purple, got sunglasses, a ponytail, and a bow. I always thought that was his daughter for some reason. But then when I saw his daughter in Avengers Endgame, I'm like, wow, she's going to be Kate Bishop. She's very young. But apparently, no, it's like a mega fan of Hawkeye. So I'm like, oh, fans of him do exist. I don't mean to roast, but yeah, so that's who she's playing. And that's pretty much all I know. I also know that, correct me if I'm wrong, someone said this takes place 2 years after Avengers Endgame. And I'm like, Far From Home takes like eight months after Endgame, and No Way Home picks up like right after that time. So within the confines of a year, you have this sort of multiversal explosion because of Doctor Strange's spell when he tried to make Peter forget. I know no one's seen Spider-Man No Way Home, but I'm just saying, because that follows directly after Far From Home. So I'm like, are we just going to assume that Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness and Spider-Man No Way Home, predating Hawkeye, all went so smoothly that there are no sort of consequences when this series is playing now? I'm like, why are these timelines so messed up? Unless it's because of like delays and obviously because of the pandemic pushed shit around. But I'm like, this is a very odd spot to put a series that is so far ahead in the MCU timeline when we're still having movies that are not even caught up to that time. It just doesn't make sense to me. So maybe they were, I don't mean to say someone was wrong, but maybe it was just wrong, or maybe I misheard, because it like doesn't make sense. But on the note of that, I have heard the leaks that Wilson Fisk, who's Kingpin, is going to appear in this series. I'm like, that's cool. And another fun fact about that is that sort of people and theorists and leakers and stuff are saying it's the same one who was in the show Daredevil, which personally I have not seen, believe it or not. And with all the rumors that Charlie Cox, who plays Matt Murdock in Daredevil, is going to appear in No Way Home and stuff, and now we have like Wilson Fisk character from that show going to be in this apparently. It makes me want to watch the Daredevil show. I might start reacting to that at some time. I just don't have Netflix right now, but I might start watching it, especially since there's apparently another Daredevil project that's going to be like going on with Disney. I don't know if nobody knows if it's Charlie Cox playing it, excuse me, but I think they have a Daredevil project in the works. And he's very adamant about wanting to reprise his role as the character, and that nobody, frankly, just steal the role from him. There's those two bits I know, and then the last one is apparently there's another character that's like Daredevil-esque called Echo. So that's pretty much all I know about her character. I don't think she uses like bat sonar and like the echoing off walls to hear where people are. I don't know. It all has to do with like this sight and hearing, and not necessarily bats, but just like that sonar and shit, the echoing. I don't know. See, I just don't know what I'm saying anymore. But I guess I'll just have to wait and see to find out. Again, pretty much all I know is this takes place roughly 2 years after Endgame. Obviously, we're going to deal with maybe some consequences of him killing all those people in the 5-year gap when everyone vanished. I feel like that could be a storyline, because obviously there would have to be something going on with this. I also know he's going to be hard of hearing, because apparently that's a comic thing where he starts to lose his hearing and he needs to put hearing aids in. I'm like, that's cool. That's cool that they're implementing that sort of I wouldn't say hindrance, but just like physical disability, because it's cool to see that when we just like frankly don't see it for anything. Another thing that reminds me of is in The Witcher. I think the showrunner said that in the books, Geralt has some sort of back or shoulder problem when he gets hurt, and he just like is not quite the same afterwards from it. So the game's never touched on that apparently, but apparently the showrunner said they're going to incorporate that into season 2. Like Geralt will get hurt and you'll be able to see like a noticeable impediment in his movements and just how it changes the way he goes about things, because he's not at 100%. I feel like that's going to be like the same thing here. So I'm just saying that's cool to see, because we don't really see that sort of take away from everyone is flawless and perfect, when that's just like not true when you mirror real life. Not everything goes naturally. So there's a lot of hiccups along the way and roadblocks, but being able to overcome those things and go forward is amazing storytelling, and it's an amazing thing that happens in real life. So finally seeing that on the screen, I know it's like a small thing, but it's just still cool to see, because again, we just don't see many of things like that anymore, or well, ever, to being honest. So yeah, I'm excited for this one. I would say going into it, now we've had 4. This is the 4th Disney Plus MCU related show, well, 5th, but live action, I would say going in, I'm the least excited I've been for one of these shows. I don't mean to have it off-putting. It doesn't mean I'm not interested in the show. It's just because I've enjoyed the other characters. WandaVision, I was very interested in that because that was different. So excited for Loki when I first started. And then Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I was like, oh my god, this is awesome. I can't wait to see Bucky's sort of therapeutic, I don't even know if that's a word. His sort of, not necessarily redemption, but his arc and how he reflects on his past and changes and such. And then obviously Sam picking up the mantle and his learning there and how they both have these different things that are playing with their lives and it's their past and they are able to form a friendship that they quite frankly never had and then triumph over all the sort of government issues and the real world issues about the flag smashers and shit. I thought that was so cool and stuff. So this one, it's just wow, he's gonna train some mega fangirl and I just don't know anything else about it, so we just have to wait and see. That's the whole damn point of watching shows. So yeah, we're gonna get started here because I've talked long enough. Let's go.
Maybe growing up in this place, you got used to the idea that a solution will just fall out of the sky.
Lorraine!
Mommy said things don't just fall from the sky.
Well, yeah, but there's always gonna be weather.
Mommies can be pretty fun too, you know.
I bet you didn't know I could do this.
If I tried that, I'd break the plate and then I'd cut my hand. Chitauri.
Mommy? Mommy?
I love how their apartment's just a mansion, bro. Is she gonna be an orphan? I'm assuming the worst here, but it just makes sense when you have this going on right when the Battle of New York is. What a shot. Yeah, I had a feeling. Imagine if that was the one when he did the no-look shot. And now he's gonna jump off, then grab. Yeah. Oh, God. She's watching so badass. When he crashed through those windows, he was laying on the ground oh, my back! Could have laying down on that broken glass and shit.
I need to protect us. I need a bow and arrow.
No. A Kevin Feige production. I also saw the thing where this, I can't pronounce the last name right, but Haley Steinfeld, they were asking her about, the Young Avengers and stuff, and she just looks back at Kevin Feige and he's like, it's so funny. I don't know why, but I love this intro. Also, I know this apparently takes place at Christmas time. Maybe it's just reminding me of Christmas a bit with those little bell chimes or whatever, and that's why. I mean, it is Christmas time after all. So she's a fencer, a gymnast, and does karate and archery. It's a pretty dope resume. Not as easy as in Skyrim, that's for sure. Holy shit. An arrow's not gonna make a bell move. What the hell did she put on it? There you go. As she said, the thingy in the middle.
Most famous balls I've cracked to now.
How does that even work?
That's not great.
How does that even work, bro? An arrow broke a bell tower? Maybe it was like out of commission, you weren't supposed to touch it? That could be why. Because all she did was ring it. I'm so caught up on the physics and applications of that. Like, how does that even happen?
We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy.
Rogers the musical? This is ridiculous.
I was there. You knew it wasn't there. It's that guy. Ant-Man.
It's very corny, but this is not a bad musical. Thanos was right. Wow. Good intentions, bad execution. That's all I have to say about Thanos. Why not double the resources?
Now it's not really the appropriate time.
Now a better time.
The balls on that dude.
Christmas in New York, and we're out of here, right?
Yeah.
All right, let's go.
All right.
I don't remember his eldest son being that old. I've never been to New York before. I really want to go, though. It's so iconic. I live one state over, so it's like, I could pretty much have no excuse, but I've just never been to New York before. Still got the bazillion-dollar apartment. New York is one of the most expensive places in the world. It's crazy how people can afford rent there. With Mr. Dikovich breathing down your neck.
I'm not thrilled that I'm about to replace an irreplaceable clock tower.
It was a bell tower.
She has to pay for that? I mean, look at her apartment. She could probably afford it.
I know that young people think they're invincible and rich people think they're invincible, and you have always been both, so take it from someone who hasn't. You're not. You will get hurt.
Ta-da.
Jack.
Oh. What an unexpected surprise.
Oh, no.
Surprises are unexpected.
That can't be right.
Meet us at the hotel and we'll talk there, okay? Shall we?
Let's.
We'll see you at the bar.
Lots more.
Is anybody else hungry for some more crab?
I don't know why, but I thought he had 2 daughters, not 2 sons. I know he lives on, like, the countryside, so obviously they must be, like, visiting New York.
It's over. It was big.
We left halfway through.
There you go. There you have it.
Oh no.
It's gonna be the best Barton Christmas ever. All right?
Famous last words.
Yeah.
It's necessary. You saved our city.
Oh. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I mean, it's not a bad perk, but obviously that's not why he does it.
Beatrice?
You're the little bishop girl.
Yes, I am.
Armand Duquesne. A little more ladylike for the wedding, so we won't be competing.
What wedding?
You don't know. Ellen and Jack. God, those secretive little lovebirds.
Seems like you won the jackpot.
You think so? So does he. I'm not so sure.
Dude.
Because it seems that you need to have a chat with your prize of a mother. Come on, Armand.
Dude. I'd never let people talk to my face like that about my mom, bro. Hell no. I'd be like Superman and Zod in the cornfield.
Mom, what was that about?
Is that guy threatening you? Honestly, I have no idea.
Rich conspiracy. As I mentioned, I know that there's like theories or whatever that Wilson Fisk will appear, so imagine if they're like co-conspirators or like they work for him or some shit like that. So obviously the kingpin of crime pulls his strings very deep with the socially elite. So that'd be a cool storyline.
These two.
I love the subtle Christmas music in the back.
We'll start the bidding for this magnificent skull at $2 million. Do I hear $2 million? $2 million, better look.
Gary sent me to work here. Assuming if you want to bother Gary.
He ain't never gonna find a Gary.
And I will remind you that this is for home display only, and you have no idea where you got it.
For home display only. Lamau.
Who told you to come down here?
Gary.
I'm Gary. What's your name?
There is a Gary!
You don't even know my name. You know, this is not gonna work out. I quit.
You can't quit. Hold on.
Smooth. That was really smooth. Holy shit.
The Ronin decimated the criminal underworld of this city.
Oh my god, it's his sword.
Annihilating the status and power of the 300 looking for 350.
What are you doing, you dope?
He likes swords.
Lot number 309, the companion piece, the Ronin suit.
Wow, his outfit. He's like, I'll take that.
We've got 90 seconds to find a watch. Everything else is secondary. Let's go, bro.
Dude, these look like Spider-Man thugs so hard. The red jumpsuit with the ski mask, and some of them have the coat with the chain. Legit, I feel like I'm playing Spider-Man. This is hilarious. I mean, it's New York. What'd you expect? Is she just gonna take his outfit?
Hello.
Oh, shit.
I mean, he's got a green one. At least he's got the Christmas spirit. It's very Black Widow-like.
The watch. I found it.
Oh, it's that dog.
I'm gonna get you, you dumb dog.
Let's go, bro. That's funny. I love how he's like, I can't see well enough. Let me reveal my identity to the whole world really quick.
Check it out. A ninja saved a dog.
Oh, it's amazing.
Isn't that awesome, Dad?
Oh shit, he's gonna think that's why he's gonna go after her. I'm like, how are they gonna meet?
You like pizza? Alright, I've got to figure out what's up with them.
No way it's that easy to type with gloves on. Oh shit. Wow, this is like one of the bloodiest MCU scenes. Oh, come on. Hawkeye's gotta show up.
We got you now, bro. Why you making it so tough on us, bro?
Bro. I really like how she's good at fighting, but not great. It makes sense. She's never had like real combat experience. Well, as far as I know, but it's more realistic this way. obviously, if Clint trains her, she'll get progressively better, so let's hope he shows up. Yup. Now you got a master. I mean, he's always gone toe-to-toe with Natasha. So it's like, you kind of forget he's not just a marksman, he's master at hand-to-hand combat.
Come on!
You're a Hawkeye.
And who the hell are you?
Oh my god, and it ends. It's the most wonderful time of the year. I have this song in my playlist. I pretty much have all the Christmas songs in my playlist that they played in this episode, because I do have a Christmas playlist on Spotify. I loaded that shit up weeks ago, baby. But yeah, I enjoyed this episode. We're going to talk about it in a sec, though. Alright, there we have it. The first episode of Hawkeye, and I liked it. I did. It tonally felt different from others. It felt more like going on a fun ride rather than experiencing something. That kind of makes it sound bad, but one analogy I can kind of represent with this was actually a meme I saw prior to watching this, and it was the comparisons of just all the four shows. Like WandaVision was about sort of sorrow and grief and growing from that pain. Falcon and the Winter Soldier was about, you know, race, equality, politics, and then Loki was about time travel and all this sort of time ordinance and all shit that has to do with time and theoretical nonsense of yada yada yada, all that. And then for Hawkeye, it's just like, it's Christmas time. So it felt like that. It didn't feel like it was like a big sort of event that eclipsed everything. I mean, technically everything was, when you think about it. WandaVision, obviously she enslaved an entire town, was becoming the Scarlet Witch, and Nexus being, you had Agatha Harkness and shit, and it was like a witch on witch battle. Jeez, that's a tongue twister. Falcon and the Winter Soldier got a new Captain America who's taken over, and obviously the US government was going against the wishes of like Steve Rogers and how Sam wanted to do things, and then it was all about sort of him taking over the mantle and Bucky's growth and them taking down an entire group of super soldiers and stuff that were a terrorist organization and stuff, and then the one world, one people ideals and the philosophy of it and how it impacts government and race and stuff. And then with Loki, as I mentioned, all the time travel shit and King the Conqueror and his evil variants and wiping out entire timelines. It's all like sort of grand scale, whereas Hawkeye is much more grounded, where it's like, yes, it's Christmas time, but it's organized crime, which gave me heavy vibes of like the Magia from Spider-Man. And like, here's the thing. I've only watched 2 X-Men movies, but I think based on the Insomniac trailer for the Wolverine game, that Logan/Wolverine/the X-Men might dabble a bit too in organized crime. That's just a vibe I've got. So I think Wolverine specifically also deals with like the Magia/organized crime in general. So again, it's just much more grounded like that. Like, it's not some superpowered villain or whatever. It's just, no, it's organized crime, and it's frankly a monopoly of that with, like, again, the socially elite and all their money and stuff. So I'm like, wow, this kind of reminds me of like I don't mean to draw on the comparisons here, but a year one type of Batman with Carmine Falcone, Salvatore Maroni, organized crime. Very much like that. Again, it's just really like mafia type, which is, I always think it's cool because, yes, it's grounded, but it's also can be a little bit darker, because if you've ever seen any movie that deals with organized crime and the mafia, that shit gets dark, man. So that's cool. The bloody scene with the guy, I forget his name. It started with the A, like the kind of like douchebag guy that was like, oh, you should change your dress, Aaron. Your parents are getting married and your lovely mother and stuff like that, weirdo. Like, he died, but he was in like a pool of blood. I'm like, damn, I've never seen that much blood in the MCU before. So it was like a different vibe. It was cool. It was very family meets with that mixture of darker tones, and I like that. I really wish they would lean more into the darker aspect. I don't know if they're quite doing it here because there are hints, but it's not the main factor. When you look at the tone, that's not what's really driving it. This is like darkness, but there's little sprinkles of it, which I admire. Because again, this is a Christmas time. It feels like a ride and just like a family fun type of show rather than here we have this specific villain or just this overlying sort of grand statement we're trying to make. No, it's just like a simple story of growth and family time. So it's a fun show, but again, as I said, just the hints of darkness I appreciate. And yeah, a few things I noticed about this that I was a bit surprised about was Kate Bishop's influence. Like, is she the main character? I was always under the impression that Hawkeye would be, because after all, the show was called Hawkeye, but I thought we would see him a lot more. But Kate Bishop like dominated the first episode. The entire intro is practically, if I'm not mistaken, it's all comprised of her, like flashbacks of her training in archery. I saw gymnastics. I don't know if it was swimming, but karate. I think there were a few other sports in there, but obviously you could see when she wins her medals and shit, she's always first place, so she's like excellent in all her classes and such. Well, like physicality wise. I don't know about academically. But yeah, so there was that, and then the intro was like starting off with young her, well, like the first opening scene, and then there was just so much about her from when she was older. Like this, as I mentioned, this whole episode I felt like was more the Kate Bishop show rather than Hawkeye. So I'm like, is that going to change, or is it going to primarily be about her? Which I'm not complaining about. I'm just like, it's not what I expected. I thought he would be in there a lot more. So I guess this is more like her show featuring Hawkeye is what I'm getting at. Or what I'm just like feeling it to be. So, I mean, that could be cool because, again, she's like his super fan. And as I said, one thing I appreciated was her combat. Like, she was good because she's black belt, but not that good. Like, she was getting hit a lot, tossed around a lot, and she fled a few times. And I like that. I don't like when you have a hero and they're just established as this sort of force of superiority and excellence, like they can't be harmed or touched or whatever. It's just so unrealistic when you do that, and it just loses all stake because you're like, wow, they just come out as perfect, and it's not realistic. And quite frankly, I don't want to see that. I like growth, character growth specifically. I like to see their sort of journey and how they arrive and how it reflects their beginning versus end. And you could just like look back and say, wow, look how much they've changed and evolved over time. So I like that. And the fact that when he came in, I don't think he took a single hit. It's because he has years of expertise, and obviously he's a specialist, whereas she's not. Like, he was trained by, obviously there's S.H.I.E.L.D. members and assassins, Natasha, so obviously he has way more extensive training than her. So practicality-wise, it makes sense. So I really like that, and the fact that he will, what I'm assuming is eventually he will train her a bit. So she'll get progressively better, which I'm like, that's cool. That's what I want to see. So I like that they're doing that. And also, it was just funny, that whole exchange where he took off her mask and he's like, you gotta be kidding me. And then she's like, wow, you're Hawkeye. I'm like, your biggest fan. I'm like, cool, because I was just wondering, how are these two gonna meet? And, well, she's wearing his costume, and he's like, I gotta go after that person because that's my old costume. And he doesn't want the name of Ronin back because he's trying to move on from that life. And another thing I just noticed about Clint real quick is I know he has his family back, and, well, what I'm trying to get at is he suffered a lot. When they were snapped away, he didn't have his family for 5 years and killed a shit ton of people. And then he had to sacrifice Natasha to get them all back. While he got them back, I thought he would be he's very happy. He's back to sort of his normal self, but obviously he's still suffering. And you could see sort of a bit, not a disappointment, but just regret and almost, not grief again, it's just more regret and sort of sorrow. You can see him like, hanging his head down and stuff, and just, it's different than I thought he would be, a different state of mind. I guess it was just sort of unrealistic for me to imagine himself as all fine and dandy given the circumstance, but I just thought he would be a little bit more complete. I don't know. He had good moments with his family, and he seems 100, like close to 100%, but not quite, because obviously there's still some suffering there with the thinking of Natasha, thinking of his past. So, I mean, obviously experience changes people. So I guess that was just my own fault for not taking that into account, because it's true. It would honestly be a plot hole or bad writing if they didn't incorporate that, because obviously, as I mentioned, experiences change you, and that's what defines you, and it's what shapes your future and how you take that into account and stuff. So I appreciate that now that I can sort of see that in hindsight, then I'm like, okay, this does make sense. I like that. So far the writing's been good, because not just on like a dialogue basis, like everything makes sense for its circumstance. Same thing with his hearing aid. I like that. I like when it's just that, again, that not grittiness, but that realism. He's been through so many explosions, so many fights. It makes sense that you just don't come out flawless and unscathed from all these immense battles. Same thing with Thor. He lost an eye, even though we got it replaced. Bucky, his arm when he fell off the train. I know that's like kind of different, but it's just like scars to represent the past battles, past fights. So it's cool to see that sort of lingering thing. And another thing too, because technically that's like a disability. So it's cool that they're sort of going on that, because not all heroes are like this perfectionate, flawless figures, like godlike, that they try to make them out. Because they like to do it sort of realistic. They nerf characters in terms of their powers to make it seem more applicable to our own life. But even still, it's still far-fetched. So with this idea, I like that they're sort of leaning into the bit of realism and how it can be quite literally anyone. I almost sound like Spider-Man, where he's like, anyone can be behind the mask, but same thing. I have yet to see Eternals, but I think there is a character named Makari, and she's deaf, and I think she's actually deaf in real life. So that just leaning into more disability and making it more expansive and diverse, with the casting actually be accurate to our own world, and not just having, as I mentioned, all these people with perfect circumstance. I like that they do that, because it presents a challenge, but it's just, as I mentioned earlier, my pre-discussion, the fact that you can overcome that and just having these obstacles in your way. It's great storytelling, and again, with real life, it's also great because it puts into perspective of our own lives and how we can achieve things no matter what our predicament is. So again, it's a small thing, yet it's just like so powerful, or perhaps I'm just reading into it too much. But yeah, this was a good first start to the season and to the series. I don't know if there's going to be season 2, but a good start to the series. I know there's another episode out, so I'm going to watch that. Maybe tonight, maybe tomorrow, because I got to edit this one. But another thing too is there was a dog there, so now I guess she adopts a dog. I don't know if that dog's going to be like a character. I doubt it, but golden retrievers for some reason, like Cosmo, have a special place in the MCU. But this poor boy's got one eye, so I don't know if she's gonna like name him like after Nick Fury or something, or maybe even Odin. Well, technically you can do Thor too, but now he has technically 2 eyes back now. So I don't know. We'll see. Nope. I don't think I have anything else to say other than the fact that I need to like relearn names. Pretty much the only names I know are Kate Bishop, Clint Barton. I don't know the dog's name, and I think her mom, Kate's mom, is Eleanor? Maybe. Don't quote me on that, because I might be wrong, but I'll probably just take a look at like the casting for the first episode just to get the names right. But yeah, hope you guys enjoy this one, and I'm going to be watching What If also until I get completely caught up. When I'm done with that, and then I'm caught up with Hawkeye, and then I'll work in like a new sort of schedule there, because I have other ideas. I just need to get caught up on everything. So yeah, as I mentioned, hope you guys enjoyed, and until then, I will catch you folks in the next video.